Just getting things set up here. I'm going to go ahead and begin in a moment. Something for this. It's not working. Something good. Hold on. Let me grab that real quick. All right. Ain't gonna be on here too long today because I got some stuff to do. Probably about an hour max, 45 minutes to an hour. So I just come on real quick. Let me get the Instagram thing set up. So we are live on Instagram and Facebook. And then we are gonna go ahead and get going. I'm just going to give a minute. Well, actually, people following it quick. So let me just run through the announcements quick. Again, like I said, it's be a max of about an hour. Not going to be too long. And then I'll kind of get into just basically a free, open kind of a discussion I'm going to run in or get into. And then we'll go from there. But just a couple quick announcements. We are, today's the 13th. We are 2 weeks exactly away from the next ritual, which is the ritual of King Bilal, which will take place here Friday night in Fort Lauderdale on the 27th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Probably not recommended. Wouldn't want certain people to chance or travel right now to come with everything that's going on, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit. So probably, for those that are within driving distance or close, or if you are going to take that chance to travel, still need to contact me, send me an email, and request an invite, and then we'll go from there. So that's going to take place on the 27th of this month, the ritual of King Bilal. We'll be working with different aspects of King Bilal in the process, because we had a good experience with it a few weeks back last month of doing another satanic type of drumming or Lucifer type of drumming. Good experience from the last time, so I think we're going to revisit that. I'll set a date for that. I still have the ritual for May. I haven't put it up. So we're going to continue with our ritual work here, because obviously with everything that's going on, which again I'll get into in a minute, and keep it within a controlled environment. That's all you can really do. So that's coming up on the 27th. Also, now I know people have emailed about the next upcoming session of online classes. We just finished Saturday. The current session, that was the 6th and final class, was this past Saturday. Looking to do the next one. Let me just make sure I got the date correct. I know it's July, but I always get the hold on, let me just pull it up. I will start probably in the middle of next month. I will send the full information out for the curriculum of that class and if you want to sign up. Okay, so we will begin on the 25th of July. That will be our next full online session. So it'll run from the 25th of July until, because we take a break. So you got 1, 2, 3, and a break, 4, 5, 6. So it'll run until August 5th, the 25th of July, running through August 5th. That'll be those upcoming sessions. As of right now, still Journey of the Black Adept Conference, which will be on the 30th to the 1st of November here in Fort Lauderdale. If you're interested in participating in that event, as far as doing a presentation on an occult or left-hand path topic, shoot me an email. If you want information on how to register for the event, shoot me an email and I'll send that information over to you. There will also be a class. I believe I'm going to do it next month. It'll be a private class that you can sign up for. It's going to be dealing strictly with working with aspects of goddess of witchcraft, dark sorcery, and black magic. We're going to go into various different aspects, techniques, rituals, and concepts one can utilize in working with Hecate. And then for the Patreon members, for those that participated in the other night's Black Massive set, I know not everybody was able to make it live. If you are a Patreon Tier 3 member, for those that weren't able to make it and you are Patreon members, you could always shoot your questions to me through the Patreon app. Will be a private class for Patreon members only on working with Samael and the energy of death. That's going to be on the 18th of March, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I would encourage those that are not Patreon members to check out the Primordial Chaos Patreon page, which can be the address is in the description box. It's patreon.com/Beniti. I'll type that in, and that's where you can check out the exclusive private content for Patreon members only. Right, and we will have more rituals to come, like the one performed this past Wednesday, etc. And the goal and the objective of that is to, again, provide more private and exclusive content for members. And I do appreciate everybody that is a Patreon member and part of the Primordial Chaos channel and family. And last but not least, if you are interested in a spiritual consultation or a reading, shoot me an email. Let me know the days and times you are available and the time zone you live in. The type of readings I do are exclusively demonic readings, as far as working with the archdemons, princes of hell, the 72 lords of darkness, or those some may know. Basically, the readings are centered around aspects of bringing those spirits or demons through to see what needs to be communicated to the individual that is doing the reading. The readings can also be used for specific, if you're focusing on a specific thing you need clarity on and you want to focus on just something specific, it could be used for that too. A consultation is basically a free-for-all. It's basically a one-on-one session with me if you want to ask and discuss, if you have questions on anything or you want to discuss any topic. That's basically what that is for. All right. So you can reach me at the email in the description box, khnum19@gmail.com. All right. So you see the title, and obviously we know what's going on right now, which is taking up all the news. And obviously, I know many people are concerned about it, but this video is not going to be just about that. I'm not sure who caught right before this, if you saw the red one, who just came on, President Trump. I'm going to speak on this briefly, not to stay on it, because part of the thing is they want our energy sucked into this. They want our energy focused on it. It's hard not to because it's everywhere, but we have to be able to limit how much of this we absorb, because it can drain and take from you. Step one is obviously educating yourself. Obviously, if you got kids and elderly, it raises certain levels of concerns, etc. But if you just saw the recent press conference that just ended not too long ago, it's now become a big business. Trump has invited private sectors such as Walmart, Target, CVS Pharmacy, and some other, I forgot the name of the other company. Google is on board to mass produce these testing kits. All I'm going to say on this is, I'm just going to throw some stuff out there. You got to be careful what you say, because I don't want certain things to be misconstrued. And then obviously here on YouTube, they screen certain things and they erase certain things, etc. I said, if you go back to a lot of the older classes and videos I did a few years back, there's a couple of ways actually to stimulate economic growth. You have to look at the timing of everything. I've always said, being on this path, you must be a critical thinker. We can't just be reactive. I mean, we have to be cautious and conscious of the health risk. That's real. So whatever conspiracy theories we may have, I'm hearing everything, and people are going to come up with, it's genetically man-made, and I do believe there's some truth to that, population control, etc. The problem is we're dealing with it. So we must be proactive in our approach and not completely. These are probably the two key ways of replenishing and rejuvenating something. Another thing we have to look at, right? People are asking themselves questions in a couple of areas with this. One, it's people who are of older age or in the later age bracket, 60s, 70s on up, who have compromised immune systems or health problems, seem to be more of a natural critical target. Kids, for the most part, which we can't say 100% certain, but it seems for the most part, children do not have much to worry about. You all right? What happened? No, he grabbed the towel, that's all. Yeah. Hell no. Anyway, yeah, if you want the number, I give it to you. Yeah. Yeah, we can't say 100% for certain, but it appears it doesn't affect children on any level that it does people of that bracket. Now, you got to look at the bigger picture of this, okay? They've been telling us one for years, and the reason why, this is just my opinion, I want to make sure I'm making that clear, because I don't want conspiracy theories to be running afloat. You do your own research. They've been saying for years, one, Social Security is pretty much almost non-existent. There's many benefits to population control. It fixes a lot of economic crisis, a lot of our medical or healthcare system has been in shambles for years. So my theory is, I believe this is a targeted thing, that they're definitely focusing in certain areas to improve that. This latest press conference by the president kind of confirmed that, bringing in the private sector. And now all of a sudden, where they couldn't provide test kits, all these big corporations now are coming to go run and get it. I'm just throwing that out there, just for something to think about. We got to look at the bigger picture and what's going on. That's why I say a great change is upon us. And I'm going to lead into why I titled the video this, because this kind of was the motivation of it, but not going to be the whole focus on this video. And I'm sure to a certain degree, we're human. We're all worried to a degree, including myself. It's human nature, especially if you have kids, because the fact of the matter is, regardless of what theories or opinions that we have, it's a reality and we're dealing with it. And it's up to us being on this path to be proactive in dealing with it. All right, we know all the basic shit, wash your hands thoroughly, don't touch your face, etc. We see what's going on, stay out of crowded areas, don't unnecessarily travel if you don't have to, etc., etc., etc. We get it, all right? The upside, we have to look at this. One, they definitely are over dramatizing it. And I'm not to say don't take precaution and don't take it serious. It's definitely being blown out of proportion. As I said, the media is always used as a tool of fear to feed off of your emotions, to create, chaos and confusion and fear. The upside to this is, especially here in the United States, the severity of it, for the most part, in most cases, is not severe or damaging in the few cases or low percentage cases that are. And the ones that are seeming, again, to be attacked when it comes to fatality or death are people of an older age with compromised immune systems and existing health issues. All right. What they're not also telling you is where it started and originated and broke out in China. A lot of those cases now daily, China's on the decline. So they've shown that they've gotten some degree of control over it. And you'll start to see that over a period of time, within a couple of months, etc. Now we know the warm season's coming. This thing doesn't hibernate. It doesn't survive well in warm climate. It hibernates and it thrives in colder or cooler climates, which I find something odd. To my knowledge, as of yesterday, North Dakota didn't have a case at all, which that could be a combination of not a large population, and who the fuck really goes to North Dakota? No offense if you're from North Dakota. But these are just things we got to consider because the great change is upon us. We got to be thinking in the overall scheme of things. Now, there's other interesting theories. A lot of you guys have sent me videos. Please don't overflood me with videos on this. Again, I appreciate your concern. But I want to point out one video I did receive from somebody where there's a theory out there that this is something that's transmuted through sound waves, radiation. We know sound waves, we know that's a reality. You could use a microwave, for an example. It cooks food through sound, okay? So there's a lot of theories. That could be the case. Now, we know part of this, they're saying, when you go to the wetland markets over in Asia, taking this supposedly taking wild animals out of their natural habitat, selling them on the black market was the cause. There's so many different roots of this problem. First of all, I've said from day one, going back 20 plus years, when you start fucking with nature, you either work along with nature or nature works against you. So anybody that thinks that they're going to go out of, when I say the natural order of things or the natural scheme of things, exclusively when it comes in relation to nature and science, nature's going to win that battle all the time. You're not going to win that battle. I don't care who the fuck you think you are, what you know. Nature reigns supreme when it comes to situations like that. We as humans are to blame for a lot of this shit that's going on, okay? Because we've been doing shit, whether it's taking things out of its natural habitat, fucking with the weather and the environment. And I don't want to turn this into a natural green earth seminar, but when we're dealing with nature, you're not going to win that battle. We see that when cataclysmic weather events strike. Nature doesn't care if you're black, white, Latino, Asian, Christian, Muslim, Jew, Buddhist, occultist. When nature has a target and it's working its way through a path of destruction, it's going. It doesn't matter who and what you are. So race needs to be eliminated. Then we have people out there now who are using the race game. That the only thing they see in everything is a conspiracy that deals with race. I've been saying for now 10 plus years or more, this is bigger than race, okay? When we're dealing with population control, when we're dealing with the human condition, okay, if you're not a productive when it comes to gentrification and your social status quo, if you're a bottom feeder, unfortunately, you're a target. It doesn't matter if in the scheme of things, if you're black, white, Asian, Latino, or whatever other ethnicity you claim to be, okay? This is about social status quo, okay? But those that are blinded by the race card will continue to use that, whether it's your personal hate for Donald Trump, and I joke about it, it's fun. I don't agree with everything he says, but the fact of the matter is he's the president right now, whether you like it or not. So come up with a strategy to deal with it. I particularly don't care for the guy. But the fact of the matter is he could be your president for the next 4 years. Look at the bigger picture and scheme of things. If you are an individual that is blinded by race, you're going to fall to the wayside because this is way bigger than race. They want you to believe that that's part of the problem. And I'm not saying, is there social injustices and racism that exist? Sure. Is that a problem in society? Sure. But is what's going on the biggest scheme of things? Is that the root cause of it? Absolutely not. Is that one of the many distractions they use? Most definitely. All right. We need to look at this in its totality, and then we need to now apply it to ourselves. Now, I've always said one thing. As a black magician, a black adept, a person who considers themselves on the path to self-mastery, okay? Step one, a magician realizes the first thing that they can control and the main thing they should be focused on is mastering themselves and controlling their immediate surrounding and environments. For those that have been watching the channel for a couple years now, you know this is something I've been saying from day one. That's the only thing you should be focusing on, because when you are in control of yourself and you're mastering yourself and you have immediate control of your immediate surroundings and environment, your personal situation, your life, the people in your circle, etc., you will come to the realization and understanding, regardless of what's going on outside of that circle, doesn't mean it's not having an effect on you to some degree, but it's not going to penetrate you to the point where you become reactive like most people are. Look at these jackasses now running into the stores, fighting over fucking toilet paper. And I didn't know the coronavirus made you shit. Unless it makes you shit out your mouth, something I didn't know. People just goes to show their ignorance. They don't leave. They don't read and they don't study. Even if you are in self-isolation for 2 weeks, how much are you 2 weeks? And it's very rare. You don't hear anybody really bringing up, I've only read in a couple of cases where it might have caused minor symptoms of diarrhea. These assholes are running to the store like there's a cataclysmic storm coming. They're stocking up on toilet paper and water. First of all, the power's not going out, dumbasses. Okay? You're still going to have your power. You're still going to have your basic daily necessities that you need to survive. But why are these? But it goes to show you those are people who react off of pure reaction. They don't do their research. I saw this video online. I forgot what state. There was a lady. Now, this is true. You could Google this. And actually, my wife told me about it. She had about 10 big-ass double jumbo rolls of toilet paper in her cart. And one lady went and asked her for one and grabbed one out of it. Long story short, they got to fighting. Okay? Over fucking toilet paper. Okay? Did you ever think in a day and time you'd see people fighting over fucking toilet paper? Okay, listen, people. Go back and do your research. We've had the Spanish flu. We've had HN1. We've had Ebola. We've had bird flu. We've had SARS. Okay? And guess what? There'll probably be something after this. It's just the only thing you can do. See, we think with practicality. I'm not saying there's a human element to this. There is a cause of concern and fear, because whether you think it's genetically created, whether you think it's man-made, etc., the fact of the matter is we're dealing with it, and it has an effect to some degree. But it only has the effect to a degree till we allow it. So all we can do is do our due diligence in mastering ourselves and controlling and maintaining our environment. Trust me when I tell you that. And what it does is change the mind approach and how you look at things. But we have to look at the overall spectrum and big things. So educate yourself, number one. Okay? All right? Gas prices are dropping. And this is obviously a key election year, right? All of these things tie into Social Security running out. This is why it's targeting the elderly. Because they've been saying, I forgot, let's go back a few years. They've been saying Social Security is almost non-existent and they don't know if it's going to be around 10 to 15 years from now. You understand what I'm saying? Think of things, right? Now there's a gas and oil war with the stocks because that's dropping. I mean, gas here, I don't know where you're at here in Fort Lauderdale, I'm seeing gas for $2.05. This is not a coincidence, okay? This is a reality. And I told you, the way to stimulate and regenerate an economy is to create either a natural disaster, some type of plague, or start a war. Because in death and sickness, there's financial gain and growth. When there's a war and destruction, big companies come in to rebuild. More missiles need to be, and weapons need to be created from the ones that were used, right? Anytime there's death, destruction, and war, there's a preceding growth or prosperity period that follows it, okay? Gotta do your research, people. And then you need to just develop your plan, your approach in here. So, which leads me, not to stay on that too long, because again, I don't like to give too much energy to that, but let's not acknowledge as if it doesn't exist to some degree, okay? So I don't want to focus too much time and energy on that, because then it gives it life. I'm a firm supporter of the more energy and thought power you give something, you give it life, you give it power. So I don't want to stay on that too long, which leads me to the title of the video. The great change is upon us, okay? Now, I've been saying for the last several years, I mean, those that go way back with me to the early 90s, going back 25 years or so, no, I've always talked about a time in nature when, one, the drastic weather changes coming into the 2000s have intensified, leading up to the great changes of 2012 that everybody thought was the end of the world. And I was saying back then, 8, 9, 10 years ago, this is just the beginning stages, right? That represented a great shift in mental, spiritual consciousness, a great shift in nature. We're seeing it. What we got going on, people, is nature is shifting. And remember, it's like when you get a sickness, your body wards it off. Well, I've been saying for years, the planet is sick. And now it's getting rid of those things that are adverse to it. Look at the history of our planet, how it's been orbiting through this solar system. We're at the closest point of the sun than we've ever been. That orbit around the galaxy. We're living in the day and time where we're at the closest period. And it'll happen again when we're gone after it makes its next orbit. But the thing that's starting to happen is, as there's a change in the energy, and that whether you call it nature, creation, the atmosphere, the ethers, whatever you want to call it, there's a shift in consciousness. And what happens in that shift in consciousness with this great change, those that have been doing their due diligence, whether it's through study, preparing themselves through their ritual, their works, their spiritual work, their meditations, they're prepared for the great shift. Those who are not either go insane, they start committing, as you've been seeing over the last several years, mass shootings because they don't know how to cope and deal, and they think that's the way to retaliate. People going insane, being committed to asylums and institutes, or just completely spooked the fuck out because they're not grounded or have that harmony in reality. Okay? These are all the reasons why what we discuss here on this channel that you should be doing. Your study, your consistent study, your daily meditations, your ritualistic work should be centered and focused. When we talk about bettering yourself, now is probably one of the most important and critical times you should be grasping and really feeding off of your spirituality. Now, if not now, then when? Because I said, it's funny how people don't wait to get serious about shit until something is right at their front door. Well, you got something at your front door now. We all do. Not that it hasn't been there. It's always been there on certain levels, but on a more discreet and subliminal level, okay? All right, we're not going to deal with that in here. Let's just X that out. All right. Yeah. First of all, if you're going to come in the room, I ain't gonna stay on. We just have some fool. We don't talk about committing terrorist acts and driving around shooting shit. Stupidity. So we X that stuff out. We're not going to be discussing that. But my whole point is that's the subject. We don't get distracted of what we're talking about. That, like I said, it's always been here, but people tend to wait till it gets to the front door to get serious about their spirituality. And again, these things have always been here. There's always been signs. There's always been events that are developing events showing that this, and people still don't take the initiative to do anything. My suggestion to you who are on this path, my suggestion to any of you who categorize yourself as a adept, a magician, a god or a goddess that works magic and performs rituals, I would seriously suggest to you to start doing some work that deals with yourself and your immediate circle and surroundings, that being your family and those things in your immediate surroundings. Until that is in order, nothing else can proceed from that. So it's very important, one, to be successful in overcoming any obstacles. It's the person's approach. Your mindset and your approach is critical and key to that. If you have a fucked up approach, a lazy approach, a messed up mindset, you're going to get messed up results. Okay? This is fact. So change is just what the word change means. Things are constantly changing. Okay? Things are always evolving, and what they're changing into, you may not like it, but the fact of the matter is things are constantly changing. And you have to learn to adapt and change with them. It's not a matter of what you like and you don't like. People that struggle are the people who are set in their ways. And just because they might be caught up in a particular ideology or system, they become stubborn and don't want to change. And that really is validation that their way of thinking is either doesn't apply, or it's outdated, or it just doesn't measure up to the standard. That's important to understand. So as we go through this process, right, with everything that we got going on, you got to ask yourself as an adept, as a magician on this path, what is it you are doing now? Because the only thing that matters is what you're doing now. What you did yesterday, that's done with. Okay? What you're going to do tomorrow may not really matter, because remember the old saying, if you take care of today, tomorrow takes care of itself. So we got some people who are still worried about back then, right? We got some people who are looking too far ahead to way up there, and they're not focusing on the now. And one thing when we deal with time on this path, right? Linear time is an illusion. I talk about that all the time. We talk about the now, right? Because the only thing important to a magician or an adept is the now, okay? Because what you're doing now is going to determine, again, how things down the road are going to manifest, okay? So we know what we got going on now. Look at yourself, look at your life, look at the things you need to address. Is your ritualistic work designed around that? Or are you all over the place doing shit that's really not necessary at this point? Are you working rituals because you want a Maybach car? Are you working rituals because you want the new BMW, right? But yet you got other areas in your life that are complete catastrophic disaster and a mess. I guarantee you won't get any results, especially if you're activating energies and archetypes that deal with intense change, such as let's per se say Set or Sekhmet or Lucifer or Lilith. And then again, you get baffled of why your life is being turned upside down and things are in complete disarray because you didn't do the due diligence. The due diligence of what? Of personal shadow work for transformation. I know we hear that term a lot on this path. A lot of different occultists throw it around. But I question, not to be judgmental, but I question how many people really seriously do that. And I want to say this again, and I've said it many times before in the past, I'm going to say it again. You will not be successful on this path until you do the proper shadow work that needs to be done in this stuff. And shadow work is getting the understanding of who and what you really are. Addressing and understanding all aspects of yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever you want to call it. Okay, I've given that formula many times over the years. Once you do that and address that, you really understand your strengths and your weaknesses, and you've devised a plan to address the weaknesses, the traumas that might be impacting your subconscious mind, which will give you some answers and understanding of why you might be struggling in life and on this path and not getting the results that you may be seeking, and just not, it's not happening. There's explanations for all that. There's reasons for all that. You need to come to the realization and understanding of why those things are happening. And then once you get that awareness, and that awareness is activated through your psyche or psychic powers, your intuition and clairvoyance will lead you in the direction you need to go as far as what ritual work you should be doing. I mention this all the time because I get emails all the time. Where should I start? Where should I begin? That very question shows me you didn't do your due diligence, because you should always start with shadow work. Now, I've always said on this path, even when we get into the intense rituals of this path, it always involves some form of shadow work. Every ritualistic work, I don't care if you're doing a ritual with Samael, I don't care if you're doing a ritual with Hecate, I don't care if you're doing, activation of the Set Typhonian energy. In all of those ritualistic workings, there's some form of shadow work. Always, because that's what this path is about. Getting to know thyself, right? We could quote the ancient mystical saying in alchemy, know thyself. And I did a video on that and titled it that a little while back. Know thyself and thou shalt know the gods, right? We all want to get super spooky and on this external vibe where we want to, we want to have some type of external experience when we're trying to understand and know something or get the understanding of something, one, that we don't even have the reality of or the realization of how to put it in perspective, one. And two, we don't even have an understanding of ourselves. That's what the saying means, know thyself and thou shalt know the gods. Because if you really know yourself, you'll know all the gods and the goddesses live within you. They're not outside of you. You personify them and materialize them once you activate the inner awareness of their existence within you. Because you might say, Beniti, I've had spiritual visions where I saw Yemaya dancing on the waters. I'm sure you did. I saw Kali, she appeared to me. I'm sure she did. I saw Set and he told me such and such. What you're not understanding, it all has its root in the subconscious mind. The first Hermetic principle of Tahuti, all is mental, mental is all. The universe is mental. Go back into the pyramid text where Ptah or Tar said he thought himself into existence. What the fuck does that mean to us as occultists? He says he was self-created being. He thought himself into existence. Set makes the declaration that he ripped himself from the womb of his mother Nut. What does this all mean to us as occultists? Okay? It means a lot, because what it means is it all exists within. As above, so below. There is no above or below, because then it follows it with as within, so without. Right? I said a few weeks back in that video I did, what we're terming the spiritual planes is interwoven around you. Religion got you under this illusion, the above and the below. But alchemy and mysticism smack that and says, what you think is the above and below is the same thing. What you think is the within and the without is the same thing. It's all manifests from you. It's all interwoven from you. I mentioned in that video a few weeks back, the Matrix movies was trying to show you that, how everything is a matriarchal illusion, right? How you break this matrix system, right? We talked about this. It starts with your thought process. Remember, go back to the basics. Your mindset and approach. Let me give you an example of how you have the power and the ability to change things. I've always said, sometimes we're dealt circumstances and situations in life that may not always be the greatest ideal opportunity for us at the time. I can reflect back, going back into my early 20s, being in a bad financial situation, having to take a shift manager job at McDonald's, right? May not have been the ideal situation, but you have to take the right approach. So I'm saying this to anybody listening who might be in a career path per se. I'm going to use that example right now, where you might be in a career path and you're doing something that you just can't stand. It's not what you want to do. I can guarantee you're staying stuck there because you go into it with a miserable mindset and approach. And the only way those things change, if you're going to flip hamburgers, be the best damn hamburger flipper you can be. Because that mindset and energy is going to open up doors to better opportunities, doing something else or somewhere else. Okay? Also, if I don't care if you are a maintenance worker or a cleaner collecting garbage, whatever it is you do. I'm not talking about sanitation, man, because they make good money, especially in New York. Some of them make six figures. I'm saying if you're doing what you consider a menial labor job that you don't enjoy doing, be the best at whatever you do. Because if you master that shit, I don't care. I mean, I used to come up with little fun tactics on flipping them damn hamburgers on the grill. And that was when I was like 22, 23 years old. Okay? I went from that, became manager, store manager, then got out of there. And that was within maybe a year and a half to 2 year period. It's your mindset and your approach. How you basically approach it, how you basically deal with a situation is going to determine one, and it's going to have a certain effect on you. Okay? And it's going to have a certain effect on you. So your approach is everything. Don't negate something what we might think is minor. Think about it too as an athlete who has to believe in their mind they're the best. When you're going into any competition, you really have to convince yourself you are the best. And you may not be, but especially when it comes to sports, those who have the most desire and heart usually sometimes come out on top against those who might be more talented, right? Sometimes we can't explain in the world of sports how when you look on paper, right, you can obviously say this is the more talented or the better team, but we know the fact of the matter is you still have to play the game. I don't care if it's basketball, I don't care if it's football, baseball, hockey, whatever it may be. You still got to go out on the field or the court and play the game. Okay? And sometimes the team that appears to be the weaker or less superior team wins because they have the better approach. They might have had the better game plan. They might have had the better mindset. You got to use any of those analogies that you could draw upon are going to assist you even on this path. So I don't give a fuck what it is you do for a living. I don't care if you are a clerk in a grocery store. Be the most fastest, efficient, bringing up groceries, okay? Because it will open doors to bigger and better things. But if you're going to get up every day, one, remember, you're in your situation. You're there because of your decisions put you there. That's number one. There's nobody, blame nobody on this path for our shortcomings, our failures, our weaknesses. Neither do we give anybody credit for our strengths, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're getting up every day miserable as shit, going to a job you can't stand, you're going to stay in that rut for a long time. Trust me when I tell you. It's not going to change at all. Not fast anyway. You know, time will do its due process and bring the change. But sometimes we have the ability to make that process a lot slower. So it's your approach. That applies to anything. When we're dealing with change in general, it's always the approach. Okay? What is your plan? Right? I've always said being on this path, you must be a critical thinker. Doing critical analyzation of things, right? Questioning things, researching things, checking things. And that's part of being proactive and not just reactive. It's very easy to be reactive off of pure emotion because a lot of us tend to do that because we're programmed to do that. Some of it is subconsciously. It's not really our fault. Some of it is because we're completely blindsided to the reality of what's really going on around us. Because we tend to want to accept things we like and try to disregard things that we may not like and pretend as if they're not there. We want to sweep things under the rug. And like I said, with more persistence, with resistance comes stronger persistence. So shadow work is inevitable. You can't avoid it. You must do it. And I've mentioned this many times before. It is the foundation. Look at it as building a house. It is necessary. So we have people that will come on the path, right? And they will jump right into doing all types of intense ritualistic work. They'll start working with activating the eye of Lucifer. They'll start doing work with Azazel and all this other stuff. Okay? And then shortly afterwards, they want to realize why everything got thrown. Everything went amok for them. They might have lost their job or their business. Their marriage might have gotten, separated or divorced. Sometimes to the point they're getting catastrophic accidents, which they may determine as bad luck. But they're activating demonic energies that are making them aware of certain things that need to be changed in order. Because remember, when you're working with those energies, you're asking for the change. You're saying, I'm embracing what these energies represent and the change that they bring. Now, you might have approached it with a different mindset that you did it for this particular reason. But when you're working with any archetypes that are road clearing and bring about change, they're going to focus on areas in your life that need to be completely turned upside down. And sometimes people just are not prepared for it. They don't know why it's happening. You can't put a finger on it because they've opened doors now that they just were not prepared to open. What helps in assisting or preventing the impact of that happening where the chaos consumes you is if you do your right shadow work. Understanding first and foremost who you really are. Getting an understanding of who you really are. Not who you think you are. Not who you try to portray yourself to others as. Because we all live a life of an illusion before we came on this path, because we all live in the expectations of who we think we should be and how we project that energy onto others. And 9 out of 10 times, if you're doing shadow work, you find out it's a waste of time. And then you realize shit ain't really what you thought it was. Or you're not really who you thought you were. You start to understand aspects about yourself that you need to work on. And you embrace the great things about yourself. You start to uncover, a lot of great things and strengths that you have that were obvious. And you also uncover some amazing things about yourself that you didn't know were there. So it works both ways. It's a two-edged sword. Your goal as an adept or a magician is how to both of those and create the necessary harmony to make that work for you. That's the ingredients of the formula to working on this path. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What have I established and gotten the understanding of certain traumas that have impacted my life on a subconscious level? Okay. 10 shadow work is going back and reviewing. I always talk this as doing kind of like a checklist of your life, of critical events in your life. All right. What events took place in my life as a child that may have impacted me? I give this example before. I've had a client over the years who had a traumatic experience when they were in elementary school, public speaking. What was laughed at in this because they stuttered and froze up, and ever since then it was a pattern that continued. They struggled with public speaking, and they're in a work and a career profession that involves doing presentations. A lot of that is tied into the throat chakra being blocked. So with this client, I went over work that client needed to do with developing their throat chakra, which deals with expression. Usually people that struggle to express themselves or people that are extreme introverts, we all should be introverted to a certain degree, but when you're extremely introverted or you have social anxiety or you can't speak in front of large people or crowds, usually it has something to do with the throat chakra, okay? Shadow work uncovers all these things, right? It pushes you into the area, and I know it's done it for me for years. The spirits and the communicate with you through your personal and spiritual work. And connecting with spirit is not always just a vision of some long robed, gowned figure saying, "Oh, you are chosen, my son, my daughter." Because I realized everybody seems to have a similar experience, and I question the authenticity of it. Because it's an experience that can be read, heard, or seen in many other places. Now, some people might say, well, the data suggests if it keeps happening over and over, that gives it some authenticity. But there's a reverse to that. It's like people who claim to see extraterrestrial crafts, right? I don't want to get into this too much, okay? But they don't describe anything that is not really non-human. First of all, the movement of these crafts and the sound people are hearing, you wouldn't detect that. It's very something that can be identified here to this earth plane, right? When you go back into some of these texts, the Merkaba, right? We've heard this term. The Crystal City, we've heard that term. And we've heard a lot of these beings that exist outside of our galaxy. When I say beings, I want you to just think aliens and grays. And I got to be careful talking about this subject because this can get spooky or spooked out. Right? We've always heard this term that these individuals were able to man their ships and power them through the 162 magnetic grids that exist on our planet alone. Right? 1, 6, and 2, that's 9. That gets into a whole nother science. We know crystals house energy. That's why they called it the Crystal City. And we knew that, and these crafts in some of these texts were recorded not to have, these crafts ain't going to have a sound that we determine as a lot of the crafts that we see or hear today. Remember, back then, for example, the stealth bomber, that is one of the military's most greatest accomplishments. People were seeing that back in the 40s and 30s and thinking it was an aircraft. Yes, there's the Area 51 thing. I'm going to be all over the place today. But yeah, there's the Area 51 thing. You do your research. The Majestic 12. Are there human experiments and clones there? Look, we'd be a fool to think there wasn't higher intelligence outside of this galaxy. You'd be foolish not to think that. What we have to be careful of is some go way out to left field with it, and it can get a little bit ridiculous. Because sometimes people are depending on was or is an extraterrestrial being. And understand this. When you're using that word, again, I always tell you guys, understand the phonetics of words, the etymology of words, and the breakdowns of words, especially the English language, because it's a very confusing language. When you're saying extraterrestrial, all you are saying is something extra coming into terror from the astral realm. That's all it is. That's all it is. There's a word on games. We hear the word extraterrestrial and automatically we think of big-headed gray aliens. No, that's not the case. It goes deeper than that. I don't want to stay on that too long, but I'm trying to give you guys examples to show the potential of what you can unlock. When we talk about unlocking the divine within, this is what I'm talking about. All of this resides within it. The potential is limitless. If we really understood what that meant, I don't think a lot of us would be in the situations that we're in. Remember, you can control and alter everything in your life except one thing, when it's time to transition. And I say that not because there's some spook being holding the string or the switch to that. That's not why I'm saying that. Because sometimes when the spirits are requesting you make that transition, sometimes when you're connected to a certain energy, it's your time in that sense. But while you are here on this realm, what you do and developed here is going to assist when it's time to make that transition and how smooth that is. So you have the ability to master everything on this realm.
I don't give a fuck what anybody tells you. And anybody that gets you in that mindset that there is some inferiority system or complex of beings that has control over that, then you're religious, regardless of what you call yourself. I don't care if you call yourself an occultist. I don't care if you call yourself a spiritualist, whatever it is you call yourself. If you're still worshiping and groveling in front of concepts and ideologies and dogmas, and you believe there are some beings that you are inferior to, that control the strings to the course of your life, you are an indoctrinated slave, mentally, emotionally, and physically. This is why I said, release the old paradigms. The great change is upon us. That shit has now run its course. It's over. If you still want to run around playing Santeria and Ifa, and you want to still play Buddhist and all these other systems that have now run its course, because you're going to find out that shit hits the fan. The only thing and the only God that has ever existed and is real is you. Because really, when you ask yourself the question, do you need the gods or do they need you? Ask yourself that. Because what if we stopped talking about them? What if we stopped promoting them? What if we stopped giving energy and life to them? Are they still real? Be careful before you answer that question. Because if you answered it quick, then you didn't catch what I just said. Ask yourself the question, do you need the gods and the goddesses, or do they need you? I presented this through the religious ideology. Does God need the devil, or does the devil need God? Ask yourself that question. Because I'm trying to get you to understand one can't exist without the other. It's that simple. If you eliminate one, then the other doesn't exist. And religious people have a hard time accepting that. I've had many arguments with them over the year. I said, well, why don't you motherfuckers just stop talking about the devil? Because really, if they did, their religion wouldn't exist. Because their whole religion is centered around destroying this character called the devil. And then really, if you eliminated the devil, what need would there be for this God character? It wouldn't even be necessary. See, nobody wants to look at it like that. It's the same thing on this path. The gods and the goddesses proceed from you. They're only as real as you manifest them and make them. The quicker you understand that, the more fluid this path becomes. Set is who Set is to you and how you manifest Set in your words, thoughts, and actions. Same thing with any other archetype. That's why there's many different masks of the adversary. Because Lucifer, Samael, Satanas, they're all the same thing, but different masks of the same thing. Different archetypes / character types of the same thing. You're accessing certain energies of the same thing. They serve a purpose, a function. And they all exist in the psyche of your subconscious mind. That's why you do ritualistic work. That's why you study. That's what opens you up to the isolated consciousness of Set. That's what makes you evolve into a god or a goddess. Because you are now responsible, and knowing and having that knowledge makes you obligated and responsible to a certain degree. You must, it is your duty and responsibility, okay, to teach those who sincerely approach you in earnest and are in need of it. Not to argue and debate and randomly seek people out and attack them. No. It is your duty to pass this on, because with knowing comes a responsibility. And that's why I said that's what this channel has always been about. There's no organization here. I don't have no group. I'm not trying to sign anybody up for anything or recruit anybody. I don't do any of that shit. My goal is to just share information with you. Put it out there. I'm not concerned if you like it, love it, hate it, can't stand it. That's not my business. I don't care. You can love, like, or hate me. That's personal. That's some human emotional shit you'll have to wrestle with. Hold on. I'm going to go to the chat in a minute.
All right, we're going back live on Instagram. When I go to the chat in a couple of minutes, if you have questions and you're on Instagram, come over to the YouTube, Primordial Chaos YouTube. I'm not going to look at both platforms, okay? I don't know what the fuck I was talking about. I forgot. What was I talking about? Had my mind wandering. But anyway, my whole, again, getting back to having the thorough understanding that one, it's about you, and it always has been about you. And until you really accept that, and it's not an easy task. It's easy to profess that with the tongue. It's different actually putting that into motion. Because at the end of the day, when you hear the term, you're alone in your sorrows, you literally are. I was talking about the isolated consciousness. All of these things activate what we call the isolated consciousness or that awareness, okay? Because one has to, okay? Yeah, thank you for reminding me, Kiana. Yeah, this is not about, convincing anyone. This is about convincing yourself. Because if you are doing work and getting results, that's the only person you need to prove anything to is yourself. It's not about going out there attacking people, antagonizing people. You give this to those that want it. And that's why I said, I just put the information out. Whether you love, like, or hate me, I couldn't care. Because once I turn this camera on, my life still goes on. I don't give two flying fucks. I don't sit around ever thinking about what anybody thinks about me. That's irrelevant to me. When I move on to the next phase of my day when this camera turns off, if you're an emotional little insecure bitch and you sit around, you're mad because I might have said something that you don't like or that doesn't agree with your ideology, get over it. Put on your big boy drawers and your big girl underwears and pull them up and fucking move on with your day. Nobody gives a shit about your little personal likes and dislikes. I for sure know I don't give a fuck. Don't get it twisted or confused. The objective of this channel has always been to put out information. You do with it what you see fit. And again, I use basic common sense. Is everybody going to agree with everything I say? Absolutely not. I'd be a complete fool to think that. But don't think I'm going to entertain your bullshit and nonsense because I might have said something that struck a chord, because it challenged your ideology of thinking. I don't give a fuck. And anybody that's known me knows when I say I don't give a fuck, I don't give a fuck. That's what I mean when I say what I mean. All right. Having said that, let's go. I'm going to finish up now. I actually extended my time. I'm going to go through the chat. I was going to grab my glasses. I'll try. I can't guarantee I'm going to get to everybody's comments, but I'll try. All right, I'm going to start at the top. Again, so if you just typed in, be patient. I'm going to be fair and go to the top for those that were here early. All right, so infernal blessings to all to save time. So if I didn't greet you personally, again, infernal blessings to all. Yeah, New Jersey Naga. Yeah, I've heard people talking about the chaga being antiviral, and there's a lot of herbs and natural remedies out there. And again, you have to be careful talking about it on platforms like this because they'll silence you and delete your videos. Excuse me. I got my allergies itchy. That's part of when I was talking earlier about what we got going on out here. We all know what's going on. Do your research, do your due diligence. We have this knowledge and share it with others. There's a lot of people now I know talking about a lot of natural herbs and remedies, ones that have always been there, such as echinacea, natural. Now, vitamin C with rose hips
Rose hips is important to have in vitamin C because the body absorbs it better. And make sure you ain't using a crummy type of vitamin C. But in my research, the rose hips and the bioflavonoids help the immune system absorb it a little better. But yeah, there's stuff out there we definitely need to educate. Now, I know you typed this question in earlier, Pierre or Lator. I hope I didn't butcher your last name. Well, I think if you've been listening since that question that you typed in earlier, I think you now have gotten a lot of ideas and concepts to tap into your higher self. And one, shadow work. I've always used alchemy and using alchemy of an intense form of shadow work. A great book to look into techniques and methodologies to use alchemy for your personal transformation and shadow work that's the name of the book, actually, Alchemy for Personal Transformation, Emerald Tablets by Dennis William Huck, H-A-U-C-K. I would also look into, and I would suggest this to everybody on this path, you should have one of the key foundation books in your occult library, The Kybalion, not the Kabbalah, The Kybalion, K-Y-B-A-L-N, by the three initiates, which is the 7 hermetic principles of Tahuti. That will give you an understanding of your higher self and how the subconscious mind works and how everything that I was talking about pretty much today of how this all starts and manifests from within. All right. Yeah, serpent-headed mask. I showed this about a week or so ago. This is one of my many classic throwback metal bands of the 80s. As I've talked about many times over the years, I'm a music lover. I love old school hip hop. I love old school R&B. I like minimum of the new stuff, but when it comes to classic rock and metal, when it comes to metal bands from back in that era, I mentioned last week, we were talking about AC/DC, Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, love Kiss, a lot of the concepts. Kiss, one of the greatest all-time bands. Motley Crue's first 2 albums, but Iron Maiden is by far, shadow of a doubt, my favorite band from that era. And I said it's funny when you become more involved on the occult path and you go back and listen to some of the music and you're in a different mindset now than you were back then, you see more, get more out of it. And it's obvious Iron Maiden had a lot of occult left-hand path things, not only in the imagery of the artwork of the band and the albums, but in the music and the lyrics. It's been out for a while. I mean, actually just a new album, actually coming out the 20th. It's a band called Lucifer. They have a female lead singer. New album they have that's coming out is Lucifer 3. They got 1, 2, and 3, and they came out with an album back in '96, I think. They've been around for a little bit. They're not super hardcore. They're rock, but I would suggest people listen to the lyrics. They're actually tapped into and they're studying a lot of occult themes. But yeah, love me some Iron Maiden, man. Swimming in the abyss of the Iron Maiden. All right, what else we got? Ikua, Haren, peace. Good to see you here. Mystic Moon says, okay, so you over in the UK. Our Prime Minister just announced yesterday that the UK government are doing herd immunity control. Yeah, they're doing that. Italy, obviously in a similar situation. Yeah, this shit is what I'm saying, man. We got to educate ourselves and be proactive. Blade of Astareth, glory to the chaos. Agree with you. Wow, serpent-headed mask. You're in North Dakota? Get the fuck out of here. That's funny, because I made a comment earlier. To my knowledge, I could be wrong, and maybe you, if you're still serpent-headed mask, maybe you could shed updated information on that. From information I read yesterday, I don't know if it was the Washington Post. It was an article, and they had a map, a United States map, where they were showing cases. And that map that I saw yesterday
And I don't know if that was as current up until the day before, but they were saying that there was 0 cases in North Dakota. So maybe you could shed more light on what's going on there because you're there. That's what the article said in the paper, and we know that's not always accurate. But I find it odd because obviously North and South Dakota are 2 of the coldest states on the U.S. map, and you would think if there's such a low level case that either there's not too many populated, or there's not too many people there going in and out of, or maybe it's just by chance, who knows? But maybe you could shed some light. I'll look for something further down. Mystic Moons, that's correct. Nature will always balance or create a harmony. You can't win. You're not going to win against nature. All right, so serpent-headed mask also, that's crazy. You're in North Dakota. That's funny as shit. But not funny because I was saying what I was saying earlier. But it's rural out here. If you go out of Fargo, North Dakota, Grand Forks, and other big towns, I work out in the country mostly. Okay. El Sheba Sekhmet. Good to see you back. Mystic Moons, you can most definitely use the chaotic energy to your advantage in ritualistic work, right? Because really, when you're working with a chaotic or uncontrolled energy, how it works to your advantage is you're using your power to create the harmony or the order out of that chaos. Because when it's pure chaos and you have raised yourself up to the ability to make order out of it, whether it's just doing a ritual on the fly with no set structure, just randomly on the fly, whether it's attacking a situation right then and there on the spot, where critical thinking has to kick in right away. That's chaotic because it's a spur of the moment thing. There's many forms of chaos. There's many methods and practicalities of carrying out chaos magic. Then there's the more planned aspect where you embody what that chaos represents. For an example, if you're working with a specific archetype, some like to dress up completely as that archetype, create the same implements that might be associated with that archetype. So there's many different ways you can manifest that chaos to your advantage through your ritualistic. It's a good question. Yeah, Matthew Watson, I know that comment was probably earlier when I was talking about all these nutheads in the supermarket because of this coronavirus buying toilet paper like they're going to be shitting for the next 4 years. It's just ridiculous. If you have to be in isolation for 14 days, what the fuck? There's no research anywhere showing that you shit out of your mouth. And there's been very small cases, and from what I've read, where people have complained about symptoms of, and it was minor diarrhea. I think people that experience diarrhea, that might be an adverse effect to some other existing health condition they might have going on in their body. But there is no known scientific research or facts that say one of the symptoms of the virus is diarrhea. Again, if the cases that I have read about people who've experienced mild symptoms of diarrhea are people who have other issues going on in their body. But again, this goes back to a lack of people educating themselves. Now, know this, it's not an airborne virus. You have to ingest, as they say, the droplets of it. It has to get into your system. That's why they say don't touch your eyes and your face. You really have to be within 3 to 6 feet proximity to catch it from somebody, right? The virus doesn't survive if it's not a smooth, slick surface. It's hard to survive, say, on material or clothing. It can, but for a short period of time. But somebody would either have to sneeze or you would have to come in contact with some form of germ that they touched and somehow would have to make connection with your body form and get in, whether it's through the mucous membranes of the nose or in through your eyes. We have to educate ourselves on that. So if we just do our due diligence, that's why they say don't be touching everybody, don't be hugging on everybody. That's why the idiots, what's his name? The idiot from the Utah Jazz came out and said earlier he was careless and dealing with sweaty towels and stuff and interacting with other guys in the locker room, giving them high fives. I mean, come on, man. Just use your common sense.
It shouldn't affect your everyday life. You still got to go out and do what you got to do. You need to go to the store. You need to go to work. We don't want to go into fanatical panic mode and run to the store and buy a surplus supply of fucking toilet paper and think we're going to be shitting for the next 3 months. It's fucking crazy, but this is the stupidity that people are doing. All right. Destiny D, breath of fresh air. Someone to tell me too. I appreciate that, Destiny. All right, what else we got? And it's a good point by Matthew Watson typing out. Yeah, it seems like every election year we do get some type of sickness. Ain't that the truth? All right, what else we got? Yeah, I haven't had a chance to watch that, Damien. Hold on, Instagram. That I heard about that with Joe Rogan. I got to check that out. A series that I just started watching, and I think you guys should check out. You might enjoy it. In the last 2 days, I've been watched the new series on. Damn. Hold on, give me 1 second. My bad, people on Instagram. Sorry. I just binge watched the new series on Amazon with Al Pacino, The Hunters. And I'm not going to spoil it. They have 10 episodes the first season. I watched 10 in the last 2 days. They talk about how the Nazis, now remember, just to give you the quick breakdown of the series, I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of it. They talk about the series is centered around Nazi hunters who are hunting down Nazis who the United States, by the way, brought over to this country to work in Nassau to do a lot of their research and then integrated these Nazis into society, gave them name changes. Some of them even had plastic surgery. Well, there was a group in the 70s that were hunting down some of these Nazis. Now, the whole show is not fact. It's based on that concept. But it shows how the Nazis came here and opened a plant in New Jersey, and they were using corn syrup, putting stuff in the corn syrup and all the product and the food to control the minds of people and get them sick and eliminate them off. It was a form of global terrorism. I found it interesting why they chose corn syrup, which is just almost about a majority of the products that we consume. So yes, there's many ways to do many things. We just need to do our research. But for those that haven't, check that series out. It's called The Watchers. It's on Amazon right now. So if you have Amazon Prime and you have a Amazon Fire TV or Fire Stick, which I do, I love Amazon. It's the greatest thing they have invented since sliced bread. I probably watch more Amazon TV than regular TV. I don't even really watch regular TV. Good series. Check it out. I'm not even going to spoil it for you. You'll never figure it out. And I'm good at figuring the shit out. They got me towards the end, and then the way it leads going to lead into the next season. If you're looking for a really good series, check it out. What else we have? All right, Yin Solix 999M. Appreciate it. I'm going to start bringing out some of my classic metal band shirts now. All right, what else we got? Yeah, Tall and Thin. And Iron Maiden, I'm telling you. High King Ruler. Approach this work with a pure of heart. Trust me, it works. 100%. All right, what else we got? Brother Tiz, a.k.a. Trident 72. What's going on, brother? Hope everything is well where you at. All right, I'm trying to get through some of this because I am running out of time, people. I'm sorry. We got to wrap this up. Chrome Mama Worthy, yeah, the A blood type would line up with what you just said came up through your ancestral research. As you said, mostly European, Celtic, Viking, South Asian, Pakistani, and Brazilian. A blood type would be synonymous with those Indo-Aryan European mixtures, which is a mixture of European, Asian, and Pakistani or Hindu backgrounds. Makes complete sense. I figured the Pakistani or the Indian was definitely there. So that's synonymous with that blood type. Now, A positives tend to be, to an extent, more what we call passive or herbivorous by nature. Doesn't mean to always exert that on a physical level. You should watch your meat intake or how much meat you eat as far as the protein levels you take. Too much excess protein is actually no good for you. It could actually make you over aggressive. It could actually create severe mood swings in you. So I would educate yourself on that A positive diet, just like everybody should, regardless of what blood type you are. All right, what else we got? All right, I'm trying to speed through this. Sorry, but I'm running out of time. Okay. Jeremy asked, good to see you here, brother. Finally made it live. All right. Yep, and it's swimming in the abyss. Correct. It's not always what you want. It's you'll get what you need. And people confuse wants and needs. I say that all the time. Keep doing that study to master that plumbing business, Mama Muerte. All right, so Mystic Moon says, this happened to me a few years. I did a ritual with Luciferianism and things started to unfold, was diagnosed with severe fibroid tumors. I did not do my shadow work and trauma manifested. Yeah, you got to be careful. Sometimes that or people just get sickness after doing certain ritualistic work, and I know that happens with me. I just finished some work with what I call clipothic alchemy. Working with the lower clipots from Lilith to Damuel to Gagmael to Arabazak. And that's some dark, intense energy. I came out of it a little fucked up, still recovering from it. So you gotta educate yourself on what you're working with. But I can tell you this, when them things pass and you overcome those adversities, the rewards are unbelievable after that. Yeah, I am on Instagram, and I saw some people commenting about that earlier. Just type in Primordial Chaos 9. And that reminds me real quick, before I let everybody go, the Instagram, Primordial Chaos on Facebook, is the greatest way to stay up on all the classes that I do, all the upcoming events, rituals that we do here in the Fort Lauderdale area. Also, I give updates on or happenings on the Patreon channel. I encourage all you guys to definitely check out my Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Beniti. There's exclusive content for members only. I just performed a Black Massive set live on there Wednesday night. So people I'm starting to show people on the private Patreon content, ritualistic work, how to go about it, how to approach it. I've started discussing on there ritualistic tools, how to set up altars, the importance of ritual work. I'm getting a little bit more detailed and personalized in there because I can. It's that setting, it's that platform. So I would definitely encourage you guys to check out the Primordial Chaos Patreon page. Again, patreon.com/Beniti. This upcoming Wednesday night, we have a class on Samael, the angel of death, and working with the Samael energy. So there's a lot of continuous private content for members on it. Check it out. But yes, on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 9. And that's the best place to stay abreast of everything that's going on here at Primordial Chaos. Rituals, classes, events. Everything is there. Anything that's going on is on the IG page, okay? All right, I think I'm almost at the bottom here. Tall and Thin says, do you think I think we all come into this world with a certain level of amnesia because we don't know. And it's not that we don't know, because remember, Everything is encoded within our DNA and within us. We have amnesia in the sense we forgot. We forgot because the very moment we come into this world, we're programmed from day one. When we remember, our parents, most of us came through, whether we were strictly religious or not, we were all brought into a religious and indoctrinated society. So we were affected by religion, politics, and the socio-economic and educational system. It indoctrinates us. It wasn't our parents' fault because they were, and it wasn't their parents' parents, they were too. Okay? So yes, we all come into this world with a certain degree of amnesia because we're taught from day one to forget. But we start to awake when we come on a path like this. We start to change the way of thinking. We start to look at things differently. We start to unlock those things. It's not that we didn't know them, they've always been there, but we just start to unlock that. So yes, we all come into this world with a certain degree of amnesia because we're programmed from day one. And part of this path is changing that programming process. Okay.